All right, bet. Hey, now look at it. It's Mr. Vintage, aka Vintage Dez from Dallas, Texas. What's happening? So, as y'all know, if y'all have been following, for those who've been following, I've been going through my mentor is CEO Matty J, Business in a Box template, right? His business principles. And we changed it into a case study. And so, right now, I've been on preparation, right? And so, last time we talked about self evaluation. This time, he has us talking about the next step is self-interview questions, and this one was real too. Like that self evaluation, that was real. You know what I'm saying? But then he put on this one as well. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go ahead and come through this, and I wanted y'all to be able to see exactly what this is, if I don't mess it up. Bet. So this one right here, like I said, this was the interview questions, and this whole thing about this was making sure that we're able to, if we were to interview ourselves, how honest with ourselves would we be? And if you think about it, a lot of times, like when we go out for jobs or when we in the dating scene or when meet people for the first time, we always try to give people a representative of ourselves, right? We always try to show the good of ourselves, and that's cool. But the reality is that's just a representative, right? And so I feel with this right here, what he did was it allowed us to be honest with ourselves. You feel me? And so I can go through a couple of quick things, and this one was not too hard, not too bad, especially not like that last one. That last one we dug deep, but this one, such things as what is your name, what's the name of your business, what do you currently do, and what are your responsibilities? Quick descriptions. What notable people and brands have you worked with? What are some of the events that you've experienced that have boosted your confidence and served as confirmation that you're on the right path? How did you start your entrepreneur journey? And this one was crazy because when I had to really start documenting it, it took me back, right? So on this one, I can briefly touch. Like I remember when I was in middle school and selling candy and chips and drinks, and I used to be able to walk. I stayed in Dunkerville at the time, and I used to be able to. I walked to school, and so on my way to school, there was a grocery store, called Minyard back then, and so I used to, on the way to school, stop at Minyard, restock on all my stuff, get everything situated, put everything in my bag correctly, and then bam, hit the schoolhouse, right? And then once I did that, it was game time, right? And so I remember doing that, for a couple of years, simply because I love to hustle, right? And then after that, that's when I started, started my own lawn care business. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but what I would realize was that we stayed in a rental house, and there was a lot of vacant houses around us. And I was like, I was curious about it. And I said, man, I want to go to these houses and see if they need somebody to cut it, because the yard stayed ridiculous, grass everywhere, right? And so how they used to have a sign and it had a name of the leasing agent or whatever, and you can call them. So what I did was I called and I let them know. I said, I noticed that y'all have a couple of these properties around my house, and I normally cut mines. Keep in mind, I'm like 13 at the time, and I was saying, and I normally cut mine. So what I wanted to offer was some type of deal. I know that you guys need to rent out these houses, and I see people come and look at these houses on a daily. And so if they're looking at a house and the grass is everywhere and it's not maintained, that's bad for business, right? So what I want to do is try to offer some type of package to be able to, every weekend or every other week, be able to cut 4 or 5, I think it was like 5 or 6 houses. Be able to cut, the 5 or 6 houses every other weekend. That's so we can make sure we keep everything, neat for you to where you can get these houses sold, or at least get them leased out. And sure enough, they came back, and instead of me having to do it every other weekend, they wanted me to do it every week. And so, bam, that started it right there. So every week, I was out there cutting yards, and then I brought my cousin on, who's still with me to this day. You know what I'm saying? We was out there cutting yards, man, making money, simply because we love to hustle, right? So we'll play basketball and all that, but then when it's time to work, bam, we'll go cut yards. And so that was that. Then, obviously, the same time I was working a 9 to 5 because, again, I love money at that time. You know what I'm saying? And now I love it, but now I love it for a tool. Back then, I just wanted to have money in my pocket, right? And then moving on, that's when I joined the network marketing. And I can honestly say, like, once I came back from college, in 2010 when I came back from college, and I was able to, and I knew for a fact that college was not for me, and a 9 to 5 was not for me. I said, okay, let me figure out what I can do. And keep in mind, back then, especially at that time, I wasn't no type of person to just talk to anybody. If I didn't know you, I didn't know you, right? But one day I went and sat down in one of these seminars, and they was, of course, introducing opportunity. Now that I'm old and now that I'm a little wise, I understood they were selling you, on the dream, which is cool. But there was this opportunity, and it sounded so good. It sounded like I was wondering why everybody ain't doing this. And so I tapped into it, and I started doing it. And I can honestly say for myself, network marketing, I don't care if you never make a dime in it. One thing that network marketing is great for is preparing you for this real world, man, and being able to get your personal development on point, and having different conventions, and listening to different keynote speakers, and just getting your mind right. And so before the audible books and all that, this is what I was doing to get my mind right. So keep in mind, I'm 18, 19, 20, 21, young, but I'm chilling with people who minds on a whole nother level. And so naturally, my mind was on a whole nother level. And so I was doing that for a long time, and again, I stuck in it simply because of the mind, and my mindset, and how I knew that my mindset was developing, and I knew there was a lot of things that I can take away from this and be able to put toward whatever endeavors I'll choose to put toward later on, right? So that was that. And then bam, the hustle continued, right? So 2011, I went to print shirts for schools, companies, little football teams, etc. So, back over where I used to stay at, there was a print shop, where they did shirts, and I used to always go in there. And so one day I was like, hey man, you want to teach me how to do these? Right, so I can be able to learn how to do it myself. I said, but I don't want to waste your time, so I'll work with you, and help you out, because I can tell you busy, right? So let me come in, teach me the game, and what I do is I help you with your orders because you backed up, and that's bad for business, right? Again, if you notice, one thing that stayed consistent with all of my pitches is always making sure that I can do for the other first, right? And then at the end of it, it'll end up doing good for me as long as I'm knowing I'm always delivering value for the others first. And again, I started that at 12, 13, and today I still utilize that same principle. Give value first, and then, but be honest enough and let them know what you're expecting in return, right? And to this day, I'm doing the exact same thing. Keep in mind, what we're doing right now, this is literally the same principle that I started back in 2012 with Matty J. I let them know, hey man, I know your systems work, but nobody has fully ever went through it. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take up that, and I want to go through it myself. That way you can have an actual case study. Right? I'm giving value first. What am I getting in return? A solid relationship, right? I don't know where that's going to take us, but I know that it'll be a solid relationship, and I value relationships. So bam, did that. And so he was like, okay, cool. So then started doing shirts and all that. And so this was around the time that, Straight Outta Compton came out. And so, the shirts, and I can honestly say I was probably one of the first in my hood to be able to put them shirts out, straight out of, whatever your hood was, South Dallas, Oak Cliff, whatever, whatever your section was in particular in those certain areas, straight out of that, straight out of Duncanville, straight out of Dallas, straight out of whatever high school where we was doing it all and running numbers. You feel me? And that's when I realized, man, you can literally turn nothing into something. You feel me? And so that was that. And then, after that, that's when I, started my, first marketing agency, some slight, dealing with small businesses and things of that nature. It got me far, and not just money-wise, but more so just knowledge, right? And learning how to deal with people even more, and being able to study people, and being able to listen to people without them even having to say anything, watching their actions, because sometimes that'll tell you way more than a pair of lips ever would. You feel me? And so, bam, did that. Then, started valeting at different restaurants, parties around the same time. What that taught me was crazy. That taught me how to never judge a book by its cover, right? And then this real quick, so let me tell you what I mean by that. So it'll be times where you might see a Bentley pull up, or you might see a Ferrari, or you might see a Corvette, or Aston Martin, or a Maserati pull up. And you be like, okay, yeah, we about to get a good tip, right? Bam, park that car up front. We put cones around it, make sure don't nobody touch it. Make sure we take the keys for them when they ready to go. Bam, we right there with them. If it's raining outside, we make sure we cover them up. But then they come out there and tip you $3, right? But then it might be a minivan that come up, with a couple that's just going out for date night because they dropped the kids off somewhere, and so now they going out just to be able to enjoy each other's presence in a minivan, and they'll get out and they'll tip you 20. You feel me? And that taught me never judge a book by its cover. Right? Because that person driving that, that Maserati, that Aston Martin, they might have that, but they could really be either they just, got an evil spirit, right? Or they feel like they know better than everybody, or they got the Aston Martin, that Maserati, or whatever kind of type of luxury car it is, but they knee deep in debt. And so they really can't even afford to be tipping. Really, they maxing out credit cards to go out and eat, right? Whereas opposed to that person, that couple driving up in that minivan, they got kids and all that, and they got bread. You feel me? They got all that, but they just wanted to get out and be able to have a good time, man. Leave the kids at the crib, and they so happy to be able to get out and be able to enjoy each other's company. Bam, they'll slide you 20 quick, right? And so this is what I mean by studying people and learning people and watching how people move, and watching what they say, but more importantly, watching what they do, right? So that's what that taught me. And then, 2014, started driving for Uber. I used that to my advantage. You feel me? Because I used to drive for it, of course, to make money in the city, in Dallas, that is. When they first started, when they first started, I made a lot of money because not too many people were doing it out here. So I used to make, about $1,000 a week. I was just driving for Uber. But then I took it up to another level. When you get in, sometimes you got those who talk, sometimes you got those drivers who don't, right? One thing I wanted to always do is I made sure that I started the conversation. And then if they didn't want to, proceed with the conversation, I left it alone. But that way they can never say that, my Uber driver didn't talk to me, he didn't do none of that. Nah, I'm going to start with the conversation. Hey, how you doing today? Everything going all right today? Was there anything in particular you want to listen to on the radio, right? Where you headed to, right? Where you coming from? Just start the conversation, and then naturally, with you doing that, they'll ask you that same question. And then once they ask you that question, that allowed me to then be able to lead into and let them know that why I'm doing Uber, and what my goals are and what I'm using that money for. And then you never know who you're talking with. You never know who riding with you, right? And so I got so many connections off of just driving for Uber and being able to spark conversation, and then, really allowing me taking control of the conversation and allowing it to be able to go wherever it needs to go to. And so Uber for me definitely played a pivotal part in my life. You know what I'm saying? And then of course that's when I started 2018 started my official agency. This when I, was able to be able to, take everything I learned and then be able to, escalate, and level up another time, right? And so that's just briefly, some of my entrepreneur journey, right? Then the next question they start asking, when did you decide that, this is what you wanted to, this is what you want your occupation to be? I knew that for me, marketing, and just marketing and just being able to, really know a little bit about tech was what I wanted to get into when I realized this is where the power was, right? Because especially us, with our culture, we got so much talent, right? And so many skills, but that's that, right? Somebody needs to be able to control it. Somebody has to be able to put out, get eyes on whatever talents you have. And think about it, music, back then, it can be somebody who got a lot of talent, right? And they got a lot of talent. Everybody who hear them, love them. But how can we make more people hear them? That's when people had to start signing deals and stuff. Why? Because at that time, the deals knew how to be able to bring attention to you. Or the record labels knew how to bring attention to you, right? Or you look at, different restaurants or, different musicians or different artists or different painters or different, actors. The only way that people will be able to know your talent is if you get more eyes on you. And so I realized, okay, cool. I know I got talent. Like I know I got talent too. I got a lot of it. But I also knew that if I can control the eyes and control the attention, then not only would I be able to shine light on what I'm doing, but I would more importantly be able to shine light on what others are doing and what my community is doing. And then we'll be able to grow from there. And so that's when I realized, okay, yeah, this marketing, I definitely want to tap into that, and I definitely want to learn that, and I definitely want to become a student of the game to where one day I can be able to become a teacher of it. And so that's when I decided that, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to paid trafficking, that's what I was passionate about. That's what I wanted to put my focus in. Or matter of fact, let me stop that. I'm not going to say that's what I was passionate about, but that's what I knew I wanted to put my focus in, because I knew that if I put my focus in that and master it, I would then be able to take all that knowledge and be able to shine light and shine eyes and shine attention on the things that I am passionate about. And so that's why I decided to do it that way. Then he got questions like, how did the way you were raised impact your entrepreneurship? What kind of education, and training do you have? Who has helped impact your business, success? And man, too many in the name, right? Too many in the name. But I mean, YouTube, Google, the TED Talks, like my man said, creators of the dictionary, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon. Man, some mentors, my man Jeremy Pearson Lynn, with the financing, the minimalist, my man Gray Scott McKenzie, what's up, baby? Gray Scott, man, he was one of the first people that I listened to before audiobooks were audiobooks and before podcasts was podcasts. He was dropping bars after bars after bars, and I was like, you know what, bro, one day I'm gonna do that for my people, because he able to drop so many bars because he's experienced so much, but still able to be able to take it down and be able to educate his people again, no matter what board he's sitting on, no matter what millionaires or billionaires he's sitting on and round tabling with. He's able to be able to take that knowledge and then be able to bring it back to his people. And for that, I always looked up to him and I respected him. And that's why today me and him are close like that. And that's why we continue to build our relationship, because of a seed that he planted within me back then, right? And so, I mean, obviously God, you know what I'm saying? My grandparents, my godfather, like, man, everybody, man. Thankfully, although it's been a lot of absences, it was a lot of individuals who stepped up and were able to really give me game and give me guidance, whether it was verbally, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. And so for that, I'm forever grateful, right? And then they add certain things like, who are the top 10 people you recommend, all people should follow. And so, I listed a couple, right? And then it asks about, topics that interest you the most. For me, I love documentaries, right? You can catch me on Netflix 24/7. You can catch me on YouTube. You can catch me on Hulu. I always searching for another documentary that can be able to give me game, whether it's on business, whether it's on life, whether it's on history, whether it's on relationships. I love seeking knowledge. And so even in my leisure time, for me, that's interesting. For me, that's fun. I can sit back, man, and chill for a night, have me a cup of something, and just literally just tap in to whatever documentaries or studying people that came before me, studying the Vanderbilts, studying, the Clarence Avant, studying, the Jay-Z, studying these, these pivotal leaders, right, in our community, right, and then in the world, for that matter, and studying how they did it and what they did, and studying those who, were successful and then failed, and studying those who had failed and then were successful, and why they failed, or why they end up being successful, like studying human behavior, studying how people think. Like, I love that. And I'm a student of it, always. And so that's what you can always catch me watching or looking at, right? Or if it's not me watching it, via documentary, then it's me listening to it via audio book. You feel me? So for me, that was a big thing for me. Where do you go to when it comes to, advice or mentorship? I mean, for me, it's my elders, right? I mean, because one thing about it, even though they might not feel like they know a lot, but one thing they have on me is time. And so they might not have knew something and then learned from it, and now they have wisdom. And so if I'm able to talk to them and they're able to be able to, help guide me and be able to redirect me a little bit if I need to on whatever journey I'm going on, and I'm forever grateful for that, right? Because one thing I know is that you can learn from anybody. And like they told me, you're never too young to teach and you're never too old to learn. And so for me, I'm always asking people, how did you do that? Or how did you do this? Or I'm sitting back and I'm watching, right? Because again, I'm a student of this. And then, of course, my IG mentors, because again, in today's day and age, it's powerful as long as you're following the right ones. And that's what we're doing right now. That's what this is all about, shine light on the right mentors or the right teachers, because it's a lot of fake ones out there, more fake ones than it is good ones, right, and real ones. But as long as you're following the right ones, they'll drop a lot of knowledge, man. And then, of course, my intuition, I must say, because my intuition tell me a lot of game too, right? And sometimes I know when I'm not supposed to be doing something. And then sometimes I know when I am supposed to be doing something. And so I definitely listen to my intuition. Even if I don't necessarily agree with it, I listen to my intuition at times, because if I don't, it's going to keep coming to me over and over and over and over and over again. And one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to die with regrets. And so if my intuition tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. Even if I feel like, it's putting me in a vulnerable situation, I'm going to do it, right? But then once I've done it, now I can say I've done it. So now if things don't work out or whatever the case is, okay, cool. Now, hey, ain't no love lost and I'm going about my business, right? But I most definitely listen to my intuition. What do you believe is your most valuable skill sets? And I can go through these a little bit, but, faith, self-awareness, humility, critical thinking, having vulnerable conversations, right? Because I don't mind having tough conversations because I want clarity. In whatever the conversation is, whatever the topic is, whatever the scenario, relationship, business, personal, intimate, I want clarity, right? If I'm doing something you don't like, bring that to my attention. That way at least I can know, and then if I feel like it's something I need to change, I'll be able to change it, right? And that's, again, in any relationship. If there's something if there's something I need to know, then let me know, right? Because I feel like I'm a superior man. And I look to make sure I surround myself with others, superior individuals, men and women. And so if that's the case, then we should always be able to hold each other accountable. And if I'm acting anything less there, then let me know. Because why? I'm going to do the same thing for you, not because I'm trying to shame you, right? But because I want to make sure that you're great, because I know the greatness is all in you, and we're supposed to hold each other accountable, right? And so for me, that's why for me, I enjoy having vulnerable conversations. It's tough, but I love it. Because once we're able to have it, then it's gonna grow. Cause either way it go, we gonna grow from it. Period. Right? And then of course being a visionary, man, I can see things so clearly, and sometimes that be a weakness, to my emotions, because sometimes, man, you can see stuff that others can't even articulate yet, and you still gotta stay planted, right? You still gotta stay 10 toes down and not sway, because sometimes it can get to the point where you like, dang, bro, like I wish this person could see what I see, right? Or I wish they understood why I was doing what I was doing, or like, man, you don't even understand how much talent you have in you. All you need to do is do this, or this. I'm not going to get into no rant on that. But anyway, like I said, being a visionary, I feel is definitely one of my strong suits. And then to go things like, what are some early adversities, on your entrepreneurship journey? Humility, for sure, humbling myself. Right? I learned to become a student of the game, right? Because everybody want to be teachers and want to be masters. Now, where you graduate from? Where your documentation at? Where your degree at? And I'm not talking, traditional. I'm talking metaphorically speaking. If you say that you're a master teacher, okay, cool. Where your students at? Where your success stories at? Okay, yeah, you made this, but how much have your students made? Right? I'm a student of the game, and I'm gonna stick to it. And then things such as like, I started elevating mentally, right? So I started making sure, again, like I said, that I dove deep into audio books, documentaries, even the music that I listen to. I make sure that the music have messages. You're not gonna catch me too much listening to no type of music that I can't learn from. If you riding with me, I'm gonna be riding to something that we're gonna nod our head on, and it's gonna be allowing me to think while I'm listening to it, because you gotta think about it. When you quoting these words, when you quoting these lyrics to this music, that's affirmations. Life and death lie in the power of the tongue, and I ain't trying to preach. That's a fact. So when I'm quoting somebody's lyrics, I want to make sure I agree with what they saying, because I'm quoting it and I'm putting that out into the universe, right? So if I come up with I'm prolific, so gifted, you feel me? I'm the type that's gonna go get it, no kidding. I'm gonna make sure I'm quoting something that I definitely believe in myself, because I'm putting it out into the universe. And when that come back, I want to make sure that I can stand on that. And then, I learned that wisdom is sometimes better than experience, and so what I mean by that is the fact that sometimes you don't have to bump your head to be able to learn something. Listen to somebody else who already bumped their head. And then they start asking you things like, what early sacrifices are things that you have to surrender in order to fulfill your dreams. And I'm still sacrificing. For me, I'm still sacrificing. Pride on a daily basis. Not buying new clothes for years. Why? Because I'm putting all that money back into the business. I understand what that means. I'm a young individual. I'm a young dude. I know what that means, right? I know what females look for, when they trying to find out, when they trying to find who they're going to be with. Like, I know the sacrifices that come with it. I know they might see, okay, now I just saw him wearing them shoes. Okay, dang, he just wore them shoes too. Okay, dang, bro, only got like 3 pair of shoes, 4 pair of shoes. Okay, dang, what that mean? He ain't got no money, he ain't got no taste. I mean, cool. Like, if that's how you see things, then that's how you see things. I'm not gonna stop your way of thinking, right? But for myself, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, because again, I realize that if I can be able to double my money, and double up, then although I might not be it right now, when that time comes, you best believe, bro, I'm coming harder than ever. Why? Because I paid my dues, and I played by the game, and I played by the rules like a ref, like my boy Nip said, like a ref, right? And I stuck to it. And so, yeah, when it's my time, it's gonna be my time, and I'm not holding nothing back. Why? Because I didn't hold nothing back when you getting passed up left and right? Or when I had to sleep on air mattresses, because I couldn't get a hotel or I couldn't get an Airbnb, but I knew I needed to be in a certain place, and so cool, let me sleep on the air mattress. And then when it comes to eating rice and beans every day, you feel me? Why? Because at that time the money was going elsewhere, and I could not afford to at that time to be able to spend it on eating lavish and going out and getting steak and lobster every day, or getting fast food every day, or just going out to eat at restaurants every day. Because you know how that go, man. You go out, you get something that's 10, but now that's 10. Now you're responsible to tip, right? And so now you easily got to do 3, 4, or 5 if you go by the game. And so now that's 15 that was spent. And then you realize, dang, that's 15. That was just one meal. What could I have gotten at the store for that same 15, and then being able to take back to the crib and being able to eat good and eat as much as I want to, right? Humility, pride. You know what I'm saying? And then, like they say, comfortability was another thing I had to sacrifice. And then you got stability. And like I said on here, to this day, I'm still not secure, right? Because my definition of secure is being in a position to where I literally could not work at all. And know that my lifestyle and the lifestyle of my loved ones could still continue for the next 20, 30, 40, 60, 100, 150, 200 years, right? And not because of me manually having to go out and make it, but because I put myself in position, put my family in position to where we have assets that still, generating cash flow to be able to take care of all of our income and all of our expenses. That's what I mean. Other things, is friends. Had to sacrifice friends. We know how that go, right? You start thinking differently. You start moving differently. You got some people that admire it, but then once they see what it's really like, they fade away. That's how it comes. You got some people that don't even want to, think like that anyway. It comes with the game, right? You can do your part and try to be able to, keep those relationships solid. But at the end of the day, if somebody feel like they want to leave, then they're gonna leave regardless. And so it's just up to you to be able to again stay focused and don't sway, right? Because you got to stick to your purpose, and as long as you know what you're doing it for, and you know what you're sacrificing it for, no matter how hard it might be emotionally, you gotta allow your logic to kick in and keep thinking logically, right? And keep going towards your purpose. Again, I know it's easier said than done, but as long as you're able to be able to keep that in your mind, that my emotion, this what I'm feeling emotionally right now, but I know logically what I have to do, and then you're gonna continue to get it done. Family, talking about that, right? Sleep. How you sacrificing sleep, and for some people, especially myself, we used to think that, hustling mean, working 24/7, right? I only got an hour of sleep, 2 hours of sleep. I've been up for the last, 48 hours. And that's cool, right? And at times it's needed. But let's not get confused into thinking that we don't need sleep, because sleep is important, right? Because if our bodies don't get rest, then we're not gonna be able to go out there and hustle. So we really hustling backwards when we stopping ourselves from being able to sleep, and we depriving ourselves from sleep. Right? And so now I make sure that I set aside a solid amount of time for me to get a solid amount of sleep. And then they ask questions like, if you can go back, what would you change? How long did it take you to get to the point where you were comfortable? And like I said, I'm still not comfortable. And that's just me being honest. What do you like most about your job as a consultant, right? And what do you like least? What do you find most difficult about your job? What are some of your business goals? What does your daily agenda look like? What advice do you have for others when it comes to their success? Right now, I don't feel like I'm in a point, to be able to give that, that type of opinion, right? Because like I said, I'm still a student of the game, and for me, entrepreneurship, I respect it so much that I know certain levels that I want to get to be able to get that game back. I can tell you what I'm doing currently in my moment, just so you can be able to see another example. But as far as me saying, hey, you need to do this, like I said, I respect the game too much to be able to, get that opinion right now. So what qualities would a person need to be really successful at consulting, and mentoring? Again, I can't answer that yet. I ain't fully paid all my dues. So that question for me is going to be continued. You know what I'm saying? I'll get back to y'all on that. What are the must-haves during your creative process? Questions like, if you can mirror yourself, mirror your life to a person for a day, who would it be? Or, what type of, and if you can only have one food, what would that be? Fruit, right? For me, it'd be fruit, because as long as I can keep my body nourished and be able to keep water in me and hydration in me, and then still allow my skin to glow, I'm with it. You feel me? And so, like I said, this interview was more, or this interview questionnaire, I should say, was a whole lot more light than that evaluation. That evaluation got deep. This one right here more so just allows you to be able to, again, kind of organize your thoughts and organize your mind and organize who you are as a person, and allow you to see what gaps are, and allow you to see what holes are, and allow you to see what need to be plugged up and what need to be deleted, right? And what you need to add to. So it's just, giving you time to be able to take time to yourself to be able to focus on who you are and getting everything outside of your head onto a sheet of paper or onto a computer, to where you're able to be able to see your beliefs, your principles, your morals, right? That way you can then see how you move and why you move like you move. And so, again, I feel like it's safe to say that, since I came on here and shared with y'all a little bit about my self-interview, for myself, that I feel like it's safe to say I can check that out. So, bam, that's done. The next step is going to be signing a self-improvement contract. I'm going to come back with y'all on that, and we're probably going to do it today because, like I said, I'm grinding. And so, like he told me from the jump, he told me that these business principles can take a week. It can take 10 years, right? It's based off of how we move. And so with me, I'm moving, right? So I'm going to try to knock out as much as possible as I can. Because again, when you know what you're trying to go to, and like I told y'all in the last video, so if y'all have not watched the self-evaluation questionnaire video, tap into that. Because like I told y'all in that, one of my fears, and I wouldn't even say fears, but I'd say one of my drivers, is the fact of knowing that I'm racing against a clock I can't see. and I'm fighting against a person I can't see. And eventually that clock gonna say time up. And I'm trying to make sure that I leave everything on the table before that happens. And I'm trying to make sure that my family and my loved ones and the people that I respect and care for dearly are able to be able to see my appreciation and my love for them before that happens. And so for me, with that being said, I'm trying to get through this as quick as possible. I'm not trying to slack on it too much. I'm not trying to waste time on other things that's not as important as this right now. And so for me, yeah, y'all gonna see how I do it, man. Y'all gonna see my journey with it. And hopefully, this can be of some assistance. For anybody just tuning in, like I said, this right here is more so for documentary purposes. But I feel like if I can come on here and be able to kind of, narrate, certain things that I'm doing, then hopefully it'll be able to help somebody during their journey. You feel me? So, like always, man, it's been me, man, Mr. Vintage, aka Vintage Dez from Dallas, Texas. And for the moment, I'm gone.